Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to relax and unwind with a watercolor doodle, and we're making super lovely, super chill frost flowers. To get started, let's go over our materials. For watercolor paper, I'm using a new brand today. It's called Master's Touch, and it's 8 by 8 inch, 140 pound. You can use any size really, but 140 pound is probably about right because we are using quite a bit of water today. And because we're using quite a bit of water, I've also taped down my paper with washi tape. For the watercolor palette, I'm using my trusty Mei Liang watercolor palette. I like this one particularly for this project because there's a really great selection of blues. So you don't have to use this watercolor palette, but just make sure you have a few blues handy to utilize. For brushes today, I'm using a mop brush, which is great for laying down the initial water layer that we'll need. I'm also using a number 12 round brush that will be good for making some circles. And then I have a stiff bristle brush for adding texture. And you don't have to have these brushes exactly, just use what you have on hand that will, create the same effect. For some fun detailing today, I have an artist pen in white. I have a glittery blue paint marker, and I also have a silver paint marker. And I've chosen these colors with the glitter and metallic because it gives that frosty aesthetic, but you can use whatever you have on hand that kind of gives that effect. You'll also want water, of course, as well as a paper towel. And as a reminder, I've got the full materials list and product details in the description. All right, let's get started. Okay, so to get started, let's take our mop brush, fill it up with some water, and swipe it up and down your paper to get just a nice sheen of water on the page. Next, I'm going to take some of my blues. I'm just going to kind of dip my brush in this light blue here, and I'm going to do the same kind of brush stroke up and down the paper. Don't go too heavy. And then I'm going to do a medium blue. Repeat that process. And again, we don't want it too thick or heavy. And then I'm going to go for a darker blue. So I did a light tone, a mid-tone, and a dark tone. And you don't have to wait for this first layer to be completely dry. In fact, I kind of like this first layer to be damp when I move on to the second layer. And for the second layer, you're going to want to load your round brush with water like I did here, and select any blue from your lovely assortment of blues and start laying circles down on the paper. And you can do big circles, small circles, medium circles, and switch up the blues. Use any blues, any size circle you want to create. Just relax, let your intuition take the lead, and go until your paper is pretty full of circles. All right, once your circles are in place, load your mop brush with water and run it up and down your paper like we did in the beginning. So this is going to create a faded background with just traces of those circles you just added. We'll let this dry and then move on to the next step. Next, we're going to take our stiff, bristly brush, load it with water, and pick any blue. And then we're going to just tap that brush against any one of the faded circles on the paper. The key to this step is to really use a light touch. You don't want to overdo the tapping because it can tend to look blobby. You want to keep some of that lighter space in there because it creates light and shadow and gives your frost flower some depth. So yeah, continue on with a light touch using different blues on your circles and keep going until all of the circles have a little bit of texture. All right, once we've finished helping our frost flowers blossom with texture, we're gonna let that dry completely and then move on to some detailing. For the first round of detailing, I'm gonna grab my silver paint marker and I'm gonna start drawing stems for these frost flowers. Now, I keep the stems pretty simple. I just create a small cup at the base of the blossom, like here, and then I just draw a straight line down from that. And I'll do that for all of these frost flowers until I'm done, and then we'll move on to the second round of detailing. All right, for the second round of detailing, I'm switching over to that glittery blue paint marker that I mentioned before, and I'm just drawing these very small circles and half circles all over the piece. And I find this to be a really subtle detail. It almost blends in with the blue background, right? But that little bit of glitter, it catches your eye when the light hits it just right. And I think it's such a neat little addition. So I highly recommend getting a glitter paint marker. And for the final round of detailing, I'm grabbing that artist pen that I have in white. It's a 1.5 millimeter. And I'm just gonna make little dots in the background that look like snow. Now that I've finished adding snow to the background, I'm gonna go ahead and add small white dots to the frost flower blossoms. I think this creates just the right amount of detail and it finishes the piece nicely. Okay, I know I said that the frost flower detailing was the last detail, but I decided some silver snow would look really nice, so I'm going to add that in now with the paint marker. And while I'm finishing up this final detail, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the video. I always love to read through your feedback. I hope it's been relaxing. That was the intent. And I would love to know if you find this kind of content relaxing, or if you don't, what kind of art content do you find relaxing? I'd love to create that. If you did like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. As always, thanks so much for creating with me today. Until next time, take care.